Alright, I'm going to be doing I guess just overlook on the Rothco Ramster Survival knife. This is a Taiwanese copy of the Buckmaster 184, and I think it's a pretty nice reproduction. Reproduction lightly. I use that word lightly because there are some things that are different. For one, the handle is the steel paint, or not, it's steel, but it's got this aluminum paint on it to make it look like the original. The guard is a little bit thinner than the original. The spikes that it come with, they do the same thing, they look the same. I have those put up right now because I have some other stuff in the sheath here that I'll get into in a minute. And yeah, this thing is heavy. It is by virtue of being thinner by it's thinner by a lot than the original Buckmaster. So I can't imagine how much an original Buckmaster weighs. Now, a lot of that weight has to be in this butt cap, because this butt cap is heavy. Let me show you where the balance point of the knife is with the butt cap on. The balance point is somewhere around this first line right there. It's just, yeah, you can kind of get it there for a second. But let me show you what happens when I take this off. And hell with it, we'll take the survival kit out of the bottom as well. The balance point shifts to up by the guard. It's bizarre. It's like right on the ricasso, if that makes sense. But it's like, you know, I can't actually do that. If I use two fingers, I kind of can, but it's like directly on the guard. And let's talk about the handle for one. It is a hollow handle, and what they do is they screw the handle on, I believe, with the guard and all that, and they put a nut down there and then they fill it with epoxy. Mine didn't look like it had too much epoxy down there, and I could clearly see the bolt. So I got some JB Weld and dripped it down in there and let it set. And it's not like it was loose before, I just wanted a little bit of extra protection on the hardware in there. And let's talk about this survival kit. I'm not opening it because I don't have a death wish, but it came with a saw, like one of those garrote saws that you see. It came with a little fishing kit with a couple hooks and sinkers and all that. And I put these matches in there myself. These are strike on any surface matches, and I cut a piece of the box that these were in and put them in there with it so I'd have something to strike on in the event that I don't have a rough surface to strike matches on in the wilderness. This knife was exceedingly sharp when I got it, and I mean, I haven't done any actual cutting with it, but I imagine it would hold up pretty well. And that's just me. There's a little bit of edge rolling right there and right there, just out of the box. The serrations here on the back are very sharp. Be very good for cutting rope, you know, so you don't damage your nice pristine edge. And yeah, this is kind of annoying. I'm sure you could take that off if you wanted to, but it would leave a huge gap in between the handle and the pommel. So I'm leaving it on. Plus it might have some utility for putting a lanyard through there. Let's get that out of the way and bring the sheath into the picture. So the sheath is pretty nice. It's one thing that is annoying, and this may be original, it may not, I have no idea. There is a piece of plastic that is like curved, and it provides spring tension to hold the blade and the handle. Now, it's a very secure fit, almost too secure, and it provides a lot of rubbing on the blade. So me just playing with it for a couple days, there's some noticeable drag marks on the left and right side. Now I wear the sheath, or I put the knife in the sheath like this. It's reversible, you can do it either way, left or right. And it's just overall ambidextrous. Now it's not that it's going to matter, because the second you put this on your belt, the knife is going to do this. You have to tie it to your leg somehow, or as I have had fun doing around the house, using it as a neck knife. Now this is an extremely heavy neck knife if you were to use it that way, but it's more convenient than having a Alice belt and having this strapped to my leg when I want to play Rambo around the house. Now, if we get into these pouches here, the pouches are removable for one, and we'll just go ahead and take those off. So you have an upper pouch and your lower pouch. That leaves your bare sheath, which if you come over here and unsnap that snap, there is a aluminum oxide sharpening stone that is probably school glued into the back of the sheath. Which is a nice touch. If we open up this pouch, which is the top pouch, there is a little compass. Now I have put some jute twine in there so I could use it for cordage or kindling, or not kindling, just fire starting tinder. And the compass is alright. It's a very cheap compass. This is a very cheap knife. At $40, it's a very cheap knife considering it's a copy of a Buckmaster. And this little pouch here is interesting. This is the pouch that you put your anchor hooks in. I don't see any legitimate use for those unless you're a Navy SEAL and you're trying to like anchor your boat, which even they didn't think that was good enough reason to have them because they didn't adopt it. So, but this pouch is the perfect size to put a Swiss Army knife. And this is an older pattern one, but it's still the, I think it's a 91 millimeter. So you can fit a whole 91 millimeter, and this is a 3-layer Swiss Army knife. So you've got your saw, you've got 2 blades, can opener and all that, screwdriver, all corkscrew. Got all that, and still enough room for some band-aids. I got like 4 band-aids in there. Band-aids are not the most useful thing. I'm sure there are more useful things you could put in this pouch. Maybe some iodine tablets or just iodine. A little bottle of that. A few rolls of Smarties. But this is also not the piece of string that came with it. I put my own piece of paracord on there because it literally came with a shoestring, a black shoestring. That sucked. So I put this just cheap dollar store paracord on it. But overall, I paid $40 for it. You will definitely get your Rambo knife kicks, and this thing is not like your $10 flea market special. This feels like it's an actually usable knife. Like, it's very heavy, does not always equate to high quality, but this feels high quality. I wish that Rothco would contract with whoever makes these in Taiwan to make Buckmaster 185 clones, because the 185s are one solid slab of steel. So I don't see why they couldn't just, I'm sure that they make these out of blanks, and they could just have more blanks that are just longer and then not cut this end off. I don't know. I'm not a knife maker. But seems to me like it'd take a whole lot less work to just make this one long piece of blade stock and just drill some holes in it, or not drill holes in it and literally just leave it blank, or paracord wrap it or something. Because the original Buck 185s, there were only like 6,000 of them made, and they were just dipped in rubber or plastic or something rather than paracord wrapped. but whole heck of a lot sturdier design than this. I mean, yes, you have the survival kit. The entire survival kit could fit in this, and then I could just have the Swiss Army knife and I could still fit the band-aids in there. I could fit the entire survival kit in there and just have the Swiss Army knife on my persons. So I don't see that much benefit to the hollow handle other than cool factor. But that is your Rothco Ramster. It doesn't say Rothco or Ramster anywhere on it, so I'm assuming someone else in the world has to make these, just from the same OEM. But definitely a nice knife, definitely a sturdy knife. I feel like, I don't know if I would baton with it, but I have seen a gentleman on YouTube, I believe his channel is Survival on Purpose, throw this thing, and it seemed to hold up. And this same man also threw an original Buckmaster, and it held up. Now, I'm sure this has all the drawbacks of the original Buckmaster, being that the tips can break off, which this is stainless steel, that one was stainless steel. It was much thicker than this one. This one's a whole lot thinner, so I'm imagining right there at that first serration where the blade is the thinnest across, that would probably break if I did a tip test on it. But for your basement operator, it's lovely. And it's a great addition to anybody's collection, especially if it's just going to sit on a wall or sit in a drawer and maybe occasionally go out and start some fires, or I don't know, on your way to McDonald's, make a fire or something to sit by. But hey, it does the job. And that's why you always carry a backup, because while this knife may be cool and all, I wouldn't necessarily trust my life to it. And this thing weighs a shit ton. So would heavily suggest, if you do plan on carrying this thing for actual survival, carry a redundancy. Even a Swiss Army knife is better than this if you break it off at the tang. And worst case scenario, well, this is your worst case scenario. Plan B, carry something real, carry a Mora, carry something that's not going to fall apart on you, which I can't speak to the durability of this knife. It seems to be okay. Don't know how. I've seen somebody, I've seen Cutlery Lover baton with one of those $7 Harbor Freight knives. I have one of those as well. Night and day. This thing and that knife are night and day. Still don't know how much I trust it. I don't believe the blade would snap anywhere other than the tip. But I do not think it would break at the tang. I just think it would loosen up, and maybe, because I believe this is just screwed on. I think it would just come loose over time, and it would just be, you'd have to sit there and retighten your handle or however it goes on. Not a good situation to be in if you need to use this knife. So, like I said, buy a real proven knife. If you have an original Buckmaster, good on you. Know its limitations. This would be perfect for actually skinning game, I believe. You know, it's stainless steel. It's not gonna rust up on you. The handle is the main drawback to this thing is weight. It is just immensely heavy. Like, it just has so much heft. Like, I can't get it across on camera, but the heft is unreal. And then when you add like these little pouches, no matter what you put in them, I mean, you could fill the handle full of, I don't know, razor blades or something, or a ferrocerium rod, or a ceramic sharpening rod, I don't know, whatever floats your boat. But you're going to be lugging this thing around like crazy, and that is not something you want to do if you're strapped for weight. Especially, like I said, when you put this on a belt, it's going to immediately fall over unless it's strapped to your leg, which, for what it's worth, it has a quick release belt system. But you cannot get this off your belt if it's strapped to your leg quickly, because it has to be strapped to your leg, or it immediately does this or that. I guess that would be the correct one, but it's so top heavy, it's going to fall over on you. If this were mounted up higher, it might be different, but just the way it is, this is too low. I don't know if you plan on buying one of these just to scavenge the parts for original Buckmaster. I don't know if this will work for you, because the sheath, I don't know about the sheath. The sheath is very tight, and you might have to entirely knock out whatever retention system is in here if you want to put an original Buckmaster in it. But even then, like, I just don't know. I don't think the thickness is there. Yeah, it's not. Like, there's no way that an original Buckmaster would fit in this sheath. It's just too thin, It's made for this knife. While a copy of the Buckmaster, it's dimensionally not a copy of the Buckmaster. But that's my little tabletop review, first look. More likely than not, I'm never going to use this knife for a cutting task ever in my life. It's probably going to sit. It's probably going to sit around and collect dust. But I'm happy I have it. And that's it.